Well, hello.
Hello everybody. So hopefully you won't get the dogs barking or the French bulldog snoring because he's right behind me, as you can tell that face right there. My guess is we will hear snoring soon, so you might see me throw the dog away. Anyway,
Be nice on your fellow Frenchie.
I am. He
But
just
he snores
snores so
so
loud.
loud.
I don't know how a small creature like that can snore that loud. It's amazing. When he's sleeping here and I'm working like downstairs, I can hear him snore through the floor. It's insane. Anyway.
But he also farts really loud. Like everything that comes out of that dog is just.
It's so small, but man, it's a powerful. It's a powerful system at play. You know what I mean? Anyway, and Amber Heard would agree. He makes big shit. I mean, anyway, because he wasn't her.
It would plead her case.
Yeah, exactly. If she had that dog, maybe we would not all think he was her.
She should have gotten the French
bulldog. She should have done that bulldog. Yeah, then she would not have lost her role in Aquaman 2. She got fired, but like they're replacing her. At least those are the rumors. Anyway, so
back to the subject. We had our rant last week, so now we have to.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of which, I'm gonna make a thumbnail about masculine versus feminine. So let me give the answer right away, because I'm gonna do a thumbnail like is masculine stronger than feminine or some shit like that. The answer is no, but I am totally gonna go a clickbait title. You know why? Because last week I put Obi-Wan Kenobi in the title, and we had more views in 2 days than we had usually for a week. So it's your fault, all of you. Clickbait works.
We're going the influencer route. How about that?
We're gonna go clickbait because you all, apparently, that's what you all like. So there you go.
So yeah.
Anyway, so masculine masculine and feminine energy. We are not saying men and women, we are saying masculine and feminine energy. Everybody is a mix of both. Men and women, or whatever the fuck you say that, has both masculine energy and feminine energy. Male, female, whatever energy, whatever you want to call it. So everybody is a mixture of both, but we have a tendency to lean one way or the other on specific things. You are not masculine or not feminine, it's going to depend on which thing. And I want to explain what I think this comes from. We are not saying that the masculine is stronger than the feminine energy here.
Not at all.
We're saying there are two different ways of training it, right? So instead of getting caught up on the words, I think we would all agree that some people like AMRAPs, others like EMOMs.
But it's very simple. There are multiple ways that lead to Rome. Oh, that's not an English saying, that's a Dutch saying.
No, it's not.
But there are multiple
always
ways
lead to Rome. That's actually the saying, always lead to Rome. Because there's a historical reason for that, because at some point, Rome was the center of the world, so therefore always lead to Rome, because they're the ones who were building the streets and created an infrastructure for Europe and especially the world, as it was known back then.
My point being, there are multiple ways that lead to the same result. There's just different ways that work for you. That's
right, but I think we can all agree some people like AMRAPs better, some people like EMOMs, right? So that's really what we're trying to say, is that there seems to be some archetypes that fit a certain type of training better than others. So what does it matter? Well, because then we can make coaching and programming better for some people than others. So an example is when we did the masculine energy template, so more like powerlifting based, 5x5, let's say, for Janena, it did not work out because we were getting too close to failure on each set. And that was not a stimulus that was working well. So instead, we went the EMOM route, and that worked a lot better. So why is an EMOM working better than an AMRAP in that sense? Why was doing 2 reps on the minute for 12 minutes, 25 reps, work better than doing a 5x5 with breaks in between? So that's what we want to talk about. All culture, so by the way, before you start blasting me on saying masculine and feminine, all cultures have had that differentiation. Right. This tattoo right here on my right calf, well, I have a tattoo on my right calf that it was made by a Maori tattoo artist. I was very lucky. Normally, he mostly only does the people from his tribe, of the Maori tribe, but it happened that his cousin was receiving me in New Zealand at the time and talked to him about me, and then he did all that because he's the only one actually allowed to use certain symbols that they have because he's that considered in his own community and everything. So a really, really cool guy. And so the tattoo on there is on the right side because that right side represents the warrior side. The left side is the woman's side. So he would not use the same colors on the right as he would on the left, and he would not use the same symbols on the right as he would use on the left. And the reason it's on the calf is because it's grounded into the ground, but in two different ways. So this is actually a very, very typical Maori tattoo that has a very specific meaning. And the right, guess what, is for the warrior male side, masculine side. Right, the Chinese have that with the yin and the yang. Most people talk about, so I had someone in the comments saying, well, you say masculine and feminine, how about yin and yang? Well, I got news for you, the yin and the yang is also masculine and feminine. Like one is masculine, the other one is feminine. And I'm going to go a little bit further than that. In their approach, feminine is negative and masculine is positive. So not negative bad, negative like anyway. But so my point is all cultures have had that. So you can say that all cultures that the world have seen are sexist, or maybe there's something to it.
And let's be honest, there is a difference between men and women. Just the fact that
masculine and feminine.
Masculine and feminine.
Energy. There is difference. So yeah. So what is the difference?
Well, a woman can put a child on this earth and man cannot.
So that's men versus women, yeah.
Exactly. But the feminine versus masculine energy, I think the feminine energy is way more focused on risk management than the masculine energy, right? Right.
So this is the way I look at it, and then we're going to talk about how it applies to training. So why is there a difference between masculine and feminine energy? My idea is that it comes down to risk management. Risk management is a very important thing, obviously, in life because everything is how much energy do I spend on this specific task. So coming back, you hear me talk about prediction versus observation all the time. And it's a very important concept that, for example, change our view on the human system, not just the human system, but you get the idea, of what was homeostasis into allostasis. The idea of homeostasis was that the center always want to come back to the center, the middle. I mean, always try to bring you back toward the center where it's going to spend the least amount of energy possible. Yeah. Right. That is not true. The body is not a homeostatic system, it's an allostatic system. So what is the difference is that allostasis is a predictive version of homeostasis, which means it will spend the least amount of energy possible toward a specific context. So, for example, this is why you see that with fever. You have a certain virus or whatever that you need to fight, the body will raise the body temperature in order to help fight the virus up to a certain level, but nothing past what it thinks is necessary. So it's making a prediction as to what he thinks is necessary to do something and spend the energy just to get there and no further. That's allostasis, roughly defined, obviously. But so the system is not homeostasis, the system is allostasis. So everything is prediction versus observation. Right, so everything is how much energy do I spend on X, and then obviously versus observation. So allostasis is the way the system works. We always try to spend, for example, you train a lot, the body understand it needs more muscle on the frame. Muscle is very expensive. So how much muscle do I put on the frame? As is necessary. That's why sometimes to gain muscle, you have to increase volume or you take steroids. Or what you're doing really with the steroids is you're changing the nature of the allostasis system. You're allowing the energy spent to be greater. That's how the whole system works. And so everything is risk management. For example, if you wanted to gain muscle, you don't have to force necessarily the anabolic phase to go up. You could just simply lower the catabolic phase. So instead of trying to build muscle, you can just suppress the destroying of muscle. If you were to suppress the catabolic system, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you would put like something like 20 pounds of muscle a week or some absurd system like that. You would die because your system would not be able to handle that. But yeah, the amount of muscle you would put on is absurd. So it's not that you're not putting on enough muscle, it's that you're destroying too much of it, actually. It's because your system see that you do not require more than this, and so it just takes out the rest. Right. That's really what a lot of steroids do, is they force the anabolic phase, but really what they do is they suppress the catabolic phase. That's why the TRT levels of testosterone are so good. It's not so much that they elevate your testosterone, is that it makes it stable. By making it stable, that means you have no catabolic phase. By having less catabolic phase, right? You're closer to the center, you're way more even. So by having that, you destroy less muscle, so you pack on more. So everything is risk management, always. Yeah, it's you either. So on all system, you have to look at it as getting stronger versus removing competition. Anabolism is getting stronger, catabolism is removing stuff. So it's always adding versus removing constantly, because energy spent versus energy conserved. Always, 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 always. So why does risk management matter so much? Well, if you're a creature capable of carrying life, so in case of humans, obviously women, you have an issue. You want to carry life, that is obviously the goal, but you have a problem. Like, for example, for a woman, you're going to have to carry that thing 9 months in your body. The changes going through your body are going to be ginormous, right? On top, but imagine the energy spent by the system to carry life. Oh my God, because now it's not one, it's two. First of all, you have to create the system. Yeah. Then you have to keep pumping specific hormones to do that. You have to integrate more food, so you have to digest more food, you have to make it more available and everything. And on top of that, as you get bigger and bigger and bigger, you are less capable of defending yourself.
Right, you're more vulnerable, right?
Way more vulnerable to the world. I mean, it goes on and on and on like that. And even after birth, there's a phase after which you're very vulnerable, and even that your body doesn't come back right away, and then you have to feed the goddamn thing, right? and then you have the boobs, and then you have the thing, and you have to take care of it, and you don't sleep. So the amount of energy is ridiculous. Your body knows that, and so whenever you want to have a kid, it is a decision. This is why sex is so emotionally charged, is because sex brings life. So for a woman to have sex, she always has, not anymore because of the pill, but for the longest time, she had to measure the suitability of the mate based on the energy spent creating life. So that's why casual sex for women was not interesting, because if I have casual sex and I have a kid, I'm paying the price. That guy better be giving me something for that. Or at least defend me while I'm carrying the life, because I will be more vulnerable. So I'm going to need a strong mate to make sure he can defend me while I cannot.
Well, and casual sex also doesn't allow you to know if that gene is something that you want to mix with your gene, and if you create a good
that too.
life, you know what I mean?
So that means that risk management is an integrated part of the human system. So that means that women have a greater risk management system in place than men, because we don't pay the price nearly before the divorce laws got there a certain way in the United States. We did not pay a price nearly as high as women when it came to, obviously, bearing life. So we just give it and then we're out. So you can understand that from a biological perspective, risk management is a major thing in a women's system, right? So they're better at risk management. Okay, so if we look from a predictive to prediction observation system, what does that mean? Again, you have so whenever you face a situation, you have two ways of dealing with it. You're gonna either grow stronger by elevating yourself, which is very costly energy-wise, or you're going to remove the competition. Yeah. It is far easier to remove the competition than it is to grow stronger for that. So if you were to be within a cave in a safe place, your system would naturally go toward removing competition. If you were outside the cave, where in order to transmit my genes, I need to be stronger to the next guy, obviously I'm going to go toward the other phase, which is making myself stronger. Yeah. So you could see from a risk management system that women would be more toward the prediction side and men would be more toward the observation side. Yeah. From a masculine versus feminine energy. Yeah. So we could say in that sense that the feminine energy is about removing competition, whereas the masculine energy is about improving oneself. Not improving oneself overall, enjoying the struggle of the fight as to grow stronger.
Right.
So you can see the masculine energy, and again, we're not saying men, women, because the women can have masculine traits and they do on certain things, and the men can have feminine traits and they do on certain things. The thing is, when you have a situation, are you more masculine or more feminine in that approach? Again, you don't like the term, just use another one.
Else, but like we all know a woman that is very that you can tell like that woman carries more of a masculine energy. We all know men that carry more of a feminine energy.
Yeah. So, but for example, women in the workplace, you can see that their goal, usually politically speaking, is not necessarily to make them better at what they do. It's removing competition. There's a political game that happens in the office and stuff like that, because it is by far where you will spend the less energy. So risk management tells you to remove competition. Again, the problem with removing competition is you do not grow stronger. Right. So, and this is actually a very important part, because the whole idea that survival of the fittest is the way evolution works is actually completely wrong. That's not true at all. Because if that was true, we'd all be amoebas. If it was survival of the fittest, all amoebas would have fought the neighbors until there was only one. Highlander, anybody? There must be. Anyway, no, there must be only one. Anyway. What you see is life is always the same. Is life spreads like crazy, so not survival of the fittest, on the contrary, spreads into new fields, and once he goes in that field, he tries to fill that field. Once he has filled the field completely, then the competition starts to see who's at the best. But at first, it's about spreading and everything. So there's an entire system that relates to life that is not nearly as simple as survival of the fittest. At disgrace.
Yeah, I think, or correct me if I'm wrong, but also like that women had less time outside of the cave.
Oh yeah, well, women were not outside of the cave.
They take that inside of the cave mentality to the outside of the cave, I think, right?
Well, that's why we see now, sociologically speaking, now that women are in the workplace, for example, is we see that happening a lot, where women are starting to understand that the workplace is not a fun place. And that's what the complaint you hear more and more. So at first, the second wave, so the first wave, it depends a little bit on how you define it, but it's first wave, second wave was women should have the right to vote. And then after that, it was women should have the right of opportunities to work, to the pill, representation, all that stuff, which I am all for. I'm a first wave feminist. So first wave for me is voting into equal opportunity, which I think we can all agree on. Second wave and third wave got different, because second wave was really workplace, right? But then it became about money. And what we saw is that we put women in the workplace and we told them, mostly you have to be like men, look at how much fun they're having over there, which was never true. The workplace has always been a very cutthroat place where no one says you're going to like it. The only thing is you're going to make money, but in the meantime, you're going to kill everybody else. So the key there was the best one, the values back then were the best one will outwork everybody else. Right. So it was about making yourself better and there. What we see now is women, I think, are starting to realize that the workplace is not nearly as fun as the feminists told them it was, and that it mostly sucks to work 60 to 70 hours a week. And I agree completely, that's why I don't want to do it either. And so what they want now is they want a workplace that works within the feminine structure, which is, because women are multitaskers, which is necessary in the case of, for example, raising a child. I can tell you that you better be a multitasker for that one. And so they want less hours at work so you can have more hours with the family and everything. But so now what you're facing is a clash of culture, of a woman-type life into the workplace. But that leads that yields the results that soul-crushing mentality that some men have toward winning at the same time, and they don't max. They don't mix and match at all. So what you saw, the third wave feminism, what we have now going, is like, instead of going, okay, we need women to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week for 15 years at the same job to become a CEO, and we don't want that, so what we're going to do, we're going to remove competition. We're going to start taking out the men, to take their place, because we don't want companies to work like that. The problem is the West will be the only one doing it, and then we'll be wiped out by China and people like that will have absolutely no problem of continuing the same system and will just wipe us out. So that's the problem you're facing, that women now want things to work their way in a place that was not designed like that. Outside the cave is not inside the cave. So I think they're gonna realize that outside the cave is a place that is dangerous, sucks, and is very, very mean. And I think they are understanding that fully, but they're not understanding where that comes from. It is not men that want it like that. We just deal with the world the way it is, not the way we would like it to be. Anyway, so
back to training.
Back to training, because what we're going to look at it is one is going to struggle, right, to make itself stronger. The other one is going to remove competition, right? Okay, so we're going to look at this, so prediction observation versus a training system. So what would that mean training-wise? Well, if we look at the struggle, enjoying the struggle to make oneself stronger, is that old school science of stress for the 1970s that is called the loading phase, really. So what you're going to do is you're going to introduce, for example, like a linear progression, where you're going to introduce a little bit more load every week, so that your body faces failure every week and grows stronger from that. That was the science of stress from the 1970s, and it was based on homeostasis. Is it wrong? Yes, it is. Because back then we did not have, for example, a free energy principle and all that. So technically, it's wrong. You have to understand when I say it's wrong, what I mean by that is Tudor, Bompa, all that stuff. Were they wrong? Well, yes or no. You never wrong. It's not wrong or right. It's percentages, 70, 80, 90%. Were they incorrect in their understanding of how the system works? Yes. Did it work? Of course it worked, because it still worked within the framework, but the idea was incorrect. The idea was that the body wants homeostasis, so what you do is you push the center a little bit more by introducing more load every week. To do that, that means that you need to do into sets that will indicate the body that it needs to go past its level of homeostasis. So that means that, for example, the 5x5. Why? Because you're going to introduce that 5 rep where you're, by the 4th and 5th set, where you're going to almost fail, indicating the body, I'm not strong enough.
That confrontation.
That confrontation, that I'm going to struggle to make myself stronger. I need to win that fight. The greater the fight, the stronger I get. That's the Saiyan race, right? That gets stronger every time he comes close to dying.
Is that a nerd stuff again?
The Saiyan race? Because I thought you knew.
Yeah,
I mean, for a second there, I thought you remembered who the Saiyans are.
I'm acknowledging that's the nerd stuff.
Okay, so I guess that's progress. Who are the Saiyans?
Super Saiyan?
Yeah, Super Saiyan. Oh, you're getting closer. We're making progress. Super Saiyan, who is that?
Is that the one with the silver hair?
That's Ultra Instinct. But yeah, Super Saiyan is yellow. And who is that? Come on, you know that. Come on, you know it. You know it. You know the big hair? Come on, come on.
Something so stupid.
You all know who it is. Everybody's waiting. Dragon Ball?
Z?
Yes! I remember, like Son Goku? Vegeta. Yeah, there you go. We're getting there. It just takes a while, that's all. But we're getting there.
I was at Z?
Exactly. You had the Z. No. It was better.
Yesterday I watched anime with you.
She did, for 5 minutes. We watched Invincible. It's actually funny. I recommend it. It's actually very funny. The comic book is great. Anyway, so we're going to see that what the 5x5 is going to take that 5th rep, is going to take you very close to failure, and then we're going to have the volume of constantly hitting that failure to make yourself stronger. So that's
constantly, hey buddy, get stronger, hey buddy, get stronger.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to push the homeostasis, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to, and that's actually what the Nike logo is.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually that compensation wave that we see in that old school Russian system. You know, first you go down, you beat up, and then you grow a little bit stronger than what you started at. First you get beat up, and then you grow up, out of that by becoming stronger. So, and that is a very, very, very masculine idea of looking at the world. This is outside the cave. where you bring a sword, you get your ass kicked, you train. This is every single martial art movie that ever existed. The hero gets his ass kicked, realizes he's not strong enough, goes on to train. There's a Rocky music in the back, and then, yeah, exactly. And then at the end, beats the other guy.
It's a Rocky music for me, man. Like that.
Right, so, but what's funny about that is this is every training program out there. It's a martial art movie. You'll notice the guy comes, he doesn't know that much, he gets he gets his ass beat and goes, huh, and then has a revelation about himself, start to train like a maniac, become stronger, and learn something in the process. Sounds like a mesocycle of training.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? Right, that is the most masculine idea ever. And by the way, talk about masculine energy, I think we can define that by the Rocky music. Ta-da-da! I mean, that's when the shit starts and you go, I need to go train right now, right? Right!
That movie also always end up like, let me do like something.
We all think we can box after that, yeah, Rocky!
Yeah, that's something that I cannot do.
Right,
like
so
for me, I would crash so hard, I would be
but again, like there's that martial art movie or like that boxing, like Rocky, I mean like the whole thing, and it's awesome and you get stronger and everything. And wouldn't it be awesome if everything worked like that? If you're on the masculine side, that's exactly how you train. And then that's how my template program works, is that we're gonna do linear progression over 3 blocks of 4 weeks. Where we're going to hit different things, but the key is it's going to get heavier and it's going to pummel you a little bit more every week, and then if you survive, you get stronger. So by the way, what does not kill me makes me stronger.
Exactly.
Nietzsche, right? That is a very, very, very masculine idea. And outside the cave, that is true. Inside the cave, it is not. That is not how this works. When we look at risk management, it just doesn't work like that. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's a mistake we've made programming for the feminine side, not for women, but for the mean side. Let's be honest, most women are on the feminine side, especially when it comes to training, because that's a physical aspect, right? Not all, but most women. So that's what we're going to see. We're going to see that pushing the 5x5 does not work. So we tried with Janina and we did not get anywhere. So I looked at that concept and I was like, all right, what am I doing wrong? Well, what we saw is that every single time she was getting to that 4th and 5th rep at the weight, at the time it was like 85 kilos, amazingly. Now she can do 5 reps every 90 seconds for 80 minutes with 100 kilos. So that tells you the progress she's made in the last year. But a year ago, when so she went from 5x5 with 85 kilos, doing not even 5x5, 3x5, with 85 kilos dying, to a 18 minutes, so how many reps is that? That's 12 sets of 5 with 100 kilos. Yeah. It's been in 1 year, so it's been crazy. The difference has been crazy. So how did we do that, right? Yeah. So we tried the 3x5, didn't work at all. So what we saw is that on the 4th and 5th rep, whenever our knee would move a little bit and she would just go and freeze and freak out because I guess you saw it as failure?
Well, understand it from it's not a rational way of thinking, but the emotion that I felt.
That's surprising.
Sorry, that face is really funny. The way I felt it.
I agree.
I felt it. Is I hurt my hammy, which didn't allow me to train for a really long time, right? So for me, training is like I really need to train. Like that keeps me sane and makes me happy and keeps me on the right way forward.
Yes.
And so when I hurt my hammy, I couldn't for a while. So I was like scared that I would hurt my hammy again with squatting, or if it moved the wrong way, I was very scared that I wasn't able to train or that it would pop again or like stuff like that. So the risk management was very high for me on that 4th and 5th rep because I felt like something could go wrong or what happens if I...
Right, so that's by the way, we're talking about that on the knee on the squat, but that was also true on the deadlift and everything else. The point was the second she got close to failing, there was too much of a thinking process going on.
Yeah, and I think it was honestly also a bit of a lack of confidence because that's really what I built in the EMOM form is that confidence to push in it and to be like... winning in it, so, and also to give myself that win, like to not be passive about it but be active about it type of thing. So
so you see how much thinking comes into this. That's the prediction side.
Right.
No, but it's true. the feminine side is on the prediction side. So whenever they face a situation, they're going to think through every single step. So I need to have confidence, I need to have this. And then the list of things that they need before a set is almost as long as the list of things they need out of a man. It's amazing. It's a long list. It's crazy. Men is like 3 things. Women is like, it just keeps on going. Anyway, so, but that's what we saw before the squat, especially with the hammy being hurt, is like the confidence has to be there, the this has to be here, like that. So every set, the closer we got to failure, the more the freak out started, the more she ended up in freeze mode, because then suddenly there was no win out of that set. And then so if you're not winning, then why are you doing it? And so 3 sets of losing and don't want to squat anymore.
Yeah.
That was over. So what was the idea? Then the idea was to get the win. I was like, all right, so how do I get the win out of that set? Well, that's simple. I'm going to turn it into an EMOM. Why? Because an EMOM is a number of things together. An EMOM, first of all, is you have a clear goal, you reach the goal, you win. That's simple, right?
Very short-term mentality, which I like. It's like this minute I made, okay, cool, win. This minute I make, cool, I win. Just have to start in that time. Like, it's funny because like my whole EMOM, I start at the same time, finish at the same time. Yeah. From minute 1 to the last minute, and then I know exactly how much time I have to rest. That's a win, and then I go back.
Right. So
put on my belt on this second, and then I go on.
Exactly. So, and that's what we're going to see on the feminine energy. Is everything in an EMOM is a win. Yeah. Because I got 2 reps. I got two reps, usually around the same time. So that gives me, by the way, enough time in between sets to visualize the next set and what I want out of it.
Yeah. And more importantly, it gives me the time to see like, ooh, okay, for example, my knee moved, or I didn't hit depth, or whatever it is, the mistake that was made. I go like, how come? Let me do it better this time. Let me put this, I have another chance at it. I have another shot at it. There is it's not a fail because I have another shot at it. It doesn't matter as much.
Right. So again, the justifications or the visualization of it doesn't matter. It only matters that it worked better that way, right? And so the key was that. So and so what we did is we used the same weight as for the 5x5, but then suddenly she would do 2 reps on the minute, because 2 reps as a weight she can do for 7 reps, then she's going to kill those 2 reps. Right. She's going to be so confident out of it. So suddenly, and by the way, 2 reps for 12 minutes, she's still doing 25 reps. So at the end, we ended up loading the same. Little differences, but the time under tension was there. And then instead of going toward the struggle of, 1 more rep and then the form gets weird, we just made her do more sets. So 12 minutes, so that she would get to minute 10 being fatigued, and then she has 2 more sets of being fatigued, where now she has to attack. So that attacking phase is still there, that the number of reps is still there, the weight is still there, the time and attention is still there. We just arranged it in a way that created wins after wins after wins after wins. And so we took the same weight, and then suddenly the 2 reps were like blam, 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 blam on the minute with very short time rest. And then she started to make progress on the squat right away. And we have seen that this worked for almost everything on the feminine side. So what we did is we removed the struggle. We removed the competition. We removed the fail. And that's the feminine side, that it works a lot better like that. So what I would say is that for me, that approach, the EMOM approach, I use myself on any lift where I'm less confident. If I don't have the confidence, like a strict press, stuff like that, I don't like to struggle on the strict press. I'm always afraid I'm so arch naturally. The strict press, sometimes if I go too far, my back doesn't like it as much. I like the EMOM better, because I'm not good at strict pressing, I never was. I can attack it very hard. I'm much more confident in an EMOM format. If I go toward, let's say, a yoke carry or a farmer's carry, where I am supremely confident and very strong at, I'll go until I fail. So I love to get farmer's carry until my hands can't carry the weight anymore. Yeah. I don't mind. And for me, it's fun. It's about how long can I last while the weight is starting to leave my finger. It's just, I'm going to try to hang on to the absolutely last second until my fingers are forced open. It's the idea of I'm drowning, but you'll have to make me bleed before you kill me type of thing. Yeah, it's that, and that's for me the enjoyment of the farmer's walk is that, is right, try to make me quit, bitch. And I'll lose, but you'll have to bleed to make me lose first. Like I'm gonna hang on to the last possible second. It's my struggle against the world. You'll win eventually, but man, am I gonna make it last? Or at least as much as I can, right? So that's the masculine approach. But it does require to have a massive confidence toward the lift. Otherwise, he'll just crash you.
Yeah.
If you do that on a lift you don't like, you'll do it twice and you'll quit. So there's no need to go there. Then we're gonna instead take the feminine approach of removing the struggle, which you'll see works way better mentally.
Yeah, and from the feminine side, like lifts I am bad at, like an overhead squat or a snatch. Like right now I'm putting a lot of them in an EMOM format, which is a lot nicer. But if I would want to, like a movement like the deadlift or the squat, where I'm now very confident at, I wouldn't do it in a training session, but I could easily do it as a more of a
test. Yeah, and then you could test now.
Yeah.
Take max weight for 5 reps and
exactly,
you could now. Yeah.
Yeah, because I built that up.
And even if you fail, it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
No, I failed the squat a few weeks back. It didn't crush me at all because I was still confident in my lift. But
and
I built it up.
And it was the correct week to do it.
Yeah, and but that's more like the. We're gonna do that in different podcasts, right? A bit more of the feminine module.
Oh, we did.
Yeah,
but that's what the module comes in. But that's not the feminine side, that's the women's side.
Yeah.
Based on their natural cycle. But
but then that comes in as well. But now I would be able to feel, but I built that confidence up through the EMOMs. So at the end you have somewhat of the same result, which means that women aren't, or feminine energy isn't less strong than masculine energy.
Plus, who cares? What matters is getting results.
That as well.
I don't care. I don't.
But people, you know, how people get stuck on that. Who's stronger, like
men? Yeah. Sorry. Sorry.
Sorry. But who can endure pain better?
Who what?
Endure pain, like.
No, passive pain. Passive pain. You guys are better, not active.
Okay. Try having a period.
Yeah.
Try having a period.
That's what I'm saying. Passive.
Exactly. Anyway.
Passive pain is true.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think women are just as strong as men in a different way. But that's my opinion.
You mean mentally?
In a different way, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, if we go physically, I'm sorry, men are stronger physically.
Of course.
No, you cannot tell, come on, we can't look at it any other way.
No, but.
It's just like the IPF was last week, we can just look at the numbers. It's not, it doesn't take.
No, physically, no, I mean mentally.
Yeah, we're not saying, we don't know, okay, we say women versus men. Now, is masculine versus feminine, is one stronger than the other? No, it's two different approaches to arrive to results. So who cares how you get there?
Yeah.
For me, what I want to give is two different ways to address each lift, each type of training, so that you can get better results. For example, I applied the feminine approach to myself when I did CrossFit. So I told that story, but I'll tell it again, is I was doing Helen. And the first time I did Helen non-stop, so Helen is 400-meter run, 21 kettlebell swings, 12 pull-ups. I do Helen, and I did it in 14 minutes. I died.
I would have loved.
Oh, I was dying so bad. It was the pull-ups. Like I did singles, but I was just completely dying because I ran too fast anyway. So anyway, 14 minutes, I'm dying. I'm like, all right, I can't suck that bad. Knowing the good guys doing under 8 minutes, probably in the 7:20 mark. I was like, did I just double the time of the good guys? I was like, for fuck's sake. But now, conditioning is not my specialty, obviously. But I'm like, all right. So I turned it into an EMOM format. I started to do, so the first time I did it, I did a round of Helen every 5 minutes. And by the way, when I did that, I did Helen in 13 minutes. So by doing, like literally resting a minute and a half in between rounds, I ended up beating my time from the previous time. And I was like, I probably did something wrong. So I started working my way through the EMOMs until I did a round of Helen every 4 minutes. But the round had to be done under 2:30. So I was doing a round of Helen in 2.5 minutes, every 4 minutes, for 3 rounds. And eventually when I got confident, I tested it and then I did it under 8 minutes. And if I had butterfly pull-ups, I would have done a lot better than that. I could have done it in 7:30 with butterfly, I think.
That's pretty impressive for such a big dude.
Right, but my point is I approached it with a feminine energy and it gave me the result that I needed. If I kept going like just do Helen, I would have quit and say screw that and not get better. So there is no better way, masculine or feminine. There's just an approach to a situation.
Yeah.
If you are not good, not confident at one, the feminine approach is better because you're removing the struggle, you're building the confidence, you are being smart about energy, about risk management.
Right.
And then once you get really good, really efficient, and you have mastered a system, then you can be fucking stupid, and that's the masculine energy, and then you go head against the wall and you just go for it.
Right.
Right, but you can't do that unless you have mastered the stuff. So that's why this is just an approach to things, but you should try and see what I mean. The lifts you're not comfortable as, or the workouts, go toward an EMOM format. Spend a little bit of time on that, and you will be able to develop a much better strategy, technique, energy system for that particular thing. So to me, that is the correct way of training, is finding not the weaknesses, but maybe the things you're less comfortable, less confident in, and then applying that feminine energy, EMOM type of training toward, and you'll see you'll get results a lot faster that way, I believe. So that old science of stress that we applied from the 70s, linear progression, will not work for everything. Some of them will be better done in an EMOM, and we can still have that linear progression idea, but still within an EMOM format. So I think the training should be divided masculine, feminine, like we're doing in a template.
Yeah. So can you name an example where someone on the feminine side needs to apply a little bit of the masculine?
Right. Well, the problem with the winning stuff is that, welcome to the world, you're not going to win every time. So there's a weakness there in the sense of, for example, we're going to use Jenny as an example. She's very strong and moves very fast with movement. Like, all right, but then you're going to favor the removing the competition approach to movement. What does that mean? That means that if I'm asking you to do a movement correctly, the hinge a certain way, at let's say a lower weight, right? Do I want you to, for example, do Randy, 75 snatches? Do I want you to have perfect form on the snatch every time? No, because it costs too much energy to do that. It'll be too slow. So you're going to start to just bend at the spine, flex, round and flex the spine because it will be faster. That's the problem with the EMOM format, or not pushing, not elevating the stress, is you will find the fastest way, most efficient way, in the sense of the fastest way to do a movement. That might not be the best way to do a movement, but it will be the most efficient. So by removing the struggle, the competition, you're just going to go towards something that feels easier. But sometimes flexion extension of the spine feels easier, and it is easier than to hinge properly. It's a lot less work. Suddenly, when you need to go back to hinging properly, it's a bitch because you have to you have to brace properly. You have to keep your hips a certain way. You have to hinge at the hip and not do the pukey. Oh, that tequila was bad. I mean, that's what I call the pukies, when people hinge by, going with their shoulder first. They take weight and they go, right? And that's exactly what you all look like.
I'm laughing because we had this conversation yesterday.
Because that's what she was doing. And so I had to go, no, you have to hinge properly, because otherwise you're going to do just flexion extension of the spine, which works with light weights. But when you have a max deadlift, guess what you're going to do? Right. So at that moment, I need you to hinge perfectly. But if you don't train that, you won't have it. And there's also the problem of winning constantly in the workouts. Welcome to life. You don't always win. If you just win in your workout, the first time you're going to face a difficult situation, which means the first competition, it's going to hit you in the face so hard, because now you've only learned to win. You have not learned to deal with a loss. And that's very hard to do. And again, whenever you struggle for that max deadlift, it's not going to be a win, because you're going to struggle, you're going to go through that sticking point, you're going to have to stick to it, you're going to have to suddenly apply the technique, like push the hips forward and everything. Now it's about the lift. It's not about winning. It's not about like beautiful movement and like unicorns and rainbows and shit. It's a grind. And the weight wants to kill you, and you have to be stronger than the weight, and you have to keep your mind on the goal and pushing your hips forward and stuff. And suddenly it sucks because it's not easy anymore. Because life is not always easy, and that's the problem. That's something you discover outside the cave. So that's a little bit the downside. in removing the struggle, removing the competition, is sometimes there is a competition you cannot remove. Then you're gonna face a problem. So we saw that problem with CrossFit often, and a lot, especially on the women's side, is they move so fast, and they can take pain, especially passively, right? They can take so much pain that they can just grind through a workout in the most efficient way possible. Yeah, but that also creates faulty movement patterns that they don't want to correct because they have no reason to, because, hey, I want to work out, or I'm going faster, or whatever. I'm like, but you're not. Like, you're not getting faster because you're not getting stronger. All you're doing is removing the hurdles on the way to the win by not sticking your hip a certain way, or by just moving, oh look, if I move just my spine, I'm faster. So you're not getting stronger at the movement. You're removing the stuff that does not let you move faster. Yeah, but sometimes those things are there for a reason. They're there to make you move better so that over time, you can grow stronger. So the problem with the feminine side is it's very short-term mentality. Short-term mentality sometimes is great because it makes you win a workout. The problem is it kills you in the long run because it's a short-term mentality. So the long-term mentality is the problem is you never compete. You never get better at the workout. Because short-term is always tomorrow. Yeah, but sometimes there's today also. So there's a downside to both sides. The downside to the feminine side is that short-term mentality, like I need to win, in the long term will destroy you because you're not always going to win, and sometimes you have to build up for what's coming.
Yeah, and you have to be able to handle that confrontation and to deal with it.
Conflict resolution is still extremely important, regardless of a society in which we do not want to deal with anything anymore. It is incorrect. Conflict resolution is a skill and a quality we should all have. But that's more of a long-term mentality, right? So that's why you see like the 12 weeks periodization, and then the like every week because you know next week and next week and next week, and I'm getting stronger and stuff like that. Where on the feminine energy, they look at that going, well, I'm going to lose worse every week. I don't want to do that. So from that side, it's not interesting. And it's true, it's not interesting, but there are ways to deal with both. So the key is like, so even if you're on the feminine side, I would once in a while want to put a test, a more like AMRAP type of stuff, so that you remember what it's like to be challenged. Yeah. And then on the masculine side, I don't want you to drive your head against the wall on every single workout, and taking everything to... If you let men train, they'll do a max single or a max triple every single workout. There's a masculine energy for you. It's like, what am I going to lift? Max weight. When? On everything. Today, every day. Always, forever. That's men training. So that's why they look at a barbell, like, how much weight can I put on that? Right, which is not exactly a long-term strategy either, by the way. So you wonder where they get that from. But it's that idea, right? Is the win is like, so they'll fail. Like you'll see men training and they just got a PR and they go, let me put 5 more kilos. Well, so you can look like shit and fail? Yeah. They will not stop until they fail. Otherwise they don't feel accomplished. Men love to lose.
So funny.
Yeah. Women are like, no, I won't. I'm going home. I'm happy now. Men are like, oh no. That I'm going to fuck that up. And until my elbow hurts, I'm not stopping.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, the key is always, how do I get results? There are 2 ways to get to the same place, and it doesn't matter. It's going to be, but you should be able to switch from one approach to the next based on the context. That's really my lesson, is you have to learn to make both work for you. And because we're not all masculine, all feminine, ever. You're a mix of both. Sometimes you're going to lean exactly on a side versus leaning on the other. And that's really where we should work on. And you should be able to look at your training and go like, all right, let's be honest. What about this one? What about that one? And then we take, and the ones you like, you can do a, linear progression, AMRAP style, and then we start playing on programming like that. And it works so much better. Yeah. It works so much better, right? So like certain things, like then assistance work versus main lift, we look at it completely differently. That's why I put certain lift in the assistance work, because it's more, I'm not confident with it, so I'm going to put it on the feminine side, so it'll be like a certain amount of reps within a certain time rest, so it's more structured, because I need to get the win not from the lift itself, but from the session itself. There are different ways to do all this. Like it gets, we'll talk about it some more, but it gets more complicated as we go on. But
as usual.
usually. That is the base of the template. That's what masculine, feminine. So the key, really, what I want is people to get a little bit of both, to mix and match between the two templates to come up with what works better for them. So that's why I put all the strength on the masculine side and the conditioning and the EMOMs on the feminine side, is I want to split them, but I do, and if you have access to one, you have access to the other. I want people to mix and match based on what they need. A squat program, the first thing I'll see is masculine versus feminine to know where we're going.
Yeah, that's why it's so great that they're in the same category case.
Yeah, you can go back and forth and see what you like. I mean, like one is based on what works for Jenna, the other one is based on what works for me. You're gonna fall in between based on different things. Sometimes you'll go the feminine way, sometimes the masculine way. That's completely normal.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Until next week.
Next week.
Bye, everybody.